Welcome back to episode 6 of the Simply Toxic build. In this episode, we're finally diving into the front suspension. This is a big step for the build because we're not just bolting on parts. We're designing and fabricating a custom front 4-link suspension setup from the ground up. We started by getting the frame and the Ford High Pinion Dana 60 front axle set up on jack stands. The frame was placed at rough ride height and the axle was positioned high enough off the ground so we could still roll a tire on and off during mock-up. This gave us a solid starting point to begin figuring out where everything needed to sit before any brackets were made or welded in place. Next, we placed the doghouse back on the truck so we could make sure the axle was centered in the front wheel opening. This step was important because we wanted the tire placement to look right with the body on the frame, not just on paper. Once the front sheet metal was back in place, we could take a better look at where the axle needed to land. From there, we took a bunch of measurements and entered all that data into design software that allowed us to lay out the front 4-link suspension before cutting any metal. We designed the brackets, checked the geometry, and made sure the setup was going to work with the frame, axle, ride, height, steering, and coil spring placement. Once the design was finalized, we sent the files off to another shop to have the brackets cut on a laser table. Once the metal showed up, it was time to start making it permanent. We started welding the brackets onto the frame first, making sure everything stayed square and in the right location. After that, we moved to the front axle and started welding the axle side brackets into place. This is where the front suspension really started to take shape. After the brackets were in place, we moved on to building the upper and lower 4-link bars. For the links, we used Ballistic Fabrication Ballistic Joints. These give us the strength and adjustability we need for a suspension setup like this. Everything was built to fit the truck, the axle, and the geometry we designed earlier. Next, we had to clearance the frame for the coil springs for this setup. We're using Rancho coil springs made for an F250 with a plus 2-inch lift. With the springs mocked up, we also started building the coil spring towers. This gave the front suspension a place to support the weight of the truck and help tie everything together. Once the suspension links and coil setup were coming together, we moved on to the steering. We installed a Rough Stuff Specialties high steering kit for Dana 60 axles. We ordered the kit with down tubing and it turned out to be a very nice setup. From there, we made the track bar brackets for the Rough Stuff Specialties track bar kit. Everything was built using Heim joint links, giving us a strong and adjustable setup. For steering, we're using the stock 2005 Silverado steering gear, paired with the modified Superlift Pitman arm. After all that work, it was finally time to roll this thing out of the shop on its own wheels. This was a huge moment after years of not moving on all 4 wheels and tires. The truck was finally sitting on the ground again. Right now, it's sitting on 285/65 R16 tires. And as you can tell, those are definitely not staying forever. This thing is going to need a much bigger tire to match the build. This was a major step forward for the Simply Toxic build, but the suspension is nowhere close to finished. We still have a lot more fabrication, testing, and adjustments ahead. So stay tuned for the next episode as we keep bringing this build closer to life.
taking ordinary and making it extraordinary.